It's quite likely that you've been introduced to something called modal scales at some point on your guitar journey. Sorry to use such an irritating word quite so early on. And when you were introduced to these modal scales, it's quite likely that you were directed towards a very technical, instrumental piece of guitar playing by way of an example, and invited to behold the use of the modal scale in all its glory. But what if, just for argument's sake, when you listened to it, it bored the absolute arse off you? You might have concluded that modal scales are not really for you. But there are a whole host of what we might call good songs that do use modal scales, and I have a few examples for you today. Okay, first song and first scale then. We're going to be talking about the Dorian modal scale first of all, which is the second mode of the major scale. And that can be explained like this. Let's say we take the notes of an A major scale, which are A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G sharp, and then back to A. And if we take those exact same notes, but start and end on the B note, we have a B Dorian scale, which is different from a B minor scale in just one regard. It has a major sixth in it. A B minor scale would go B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G natural, A, B. But we're lifting the mood a little bit by including this G sharp, this major sixth within a minor context. And the song I've chosen to demonstrate this is Reptilia by The Strokes, which goes like so. So, what's Dorian about that then? Well, it's most definitely in B minor. That's where the tune keeps resolving to. So that's definitely our home chord. But for the majority of this song, we've got this vamp, this change between a B minor and an E major. And this is your classic Dorian chord change. If we were in regular old B minor, that E chord would also be played as a minor. It's got that G natural in it that the B natural minor scale had. By moving to the E major chord, we're using the G sharp. If you remember, that's the major sixth in the context of B. So we've established this Dorian tonality moving between those two chords. And that's really reinforced by the melodic riff that's played over the top as well, where we're going over the B minor chord. And that is completely within any given B minor scale you could choose from. We've got a D note, a B note, and an A note. But when the chord changes to E, we're really highlighting that G sharp, the major sixth. And that's the Dorian in somewhat of a nutshell. Next up then we have the Phrygian mode, which is the third mode of the major scale. And our root note in this case is going to be E. So when we're talking about the E Phrygian mode, that is the third mode of the C major scale. The C major scale, nice and easy to think about because it's all natural notes. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. So if we start and end that scale, or that bunch of notes, I should say, on the E note, we get quite a moody and an unstable kind of a thing happening here. Again, not a million miles away from a natural minor scale. It is a type of minor scale. An E natural minor is only different in one aspect, and that is that second note. An E natural minor would go F sharp for its second note. But we're playing here an F natural. Adds quite a lot of tension to it. And the song I've chosen to demonstrate this scale, believe it or not, is a Paul Weller song called From the Floorboards Up. And it has a progression made up of power chords that goes like this. And you probably spotted the little Phrygian flamenco twist at the end there. You've got a chord progression that works completely within E minor, traditional E natural minor, where we're going from E to G, then A, and then C. So we wouldn't particularly raise any eyebrows amongst a crowd of people familiar with diatonic harmony, but then when we land back on the E, he's sort of sliding up a semitone to that F. And next up we have the Lydian modal scale, which is the fourth mode of the major scale. And in this case we're going to be talking about C Lydian, which has the same notes as the G major scale. It's the fourth mode of G major. So the notes in question in this instance are G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, and then back to G. So sounds like that as a G major scale. We play those same notes starting and ending on the C. You might have noticed much more major sounding tonality, and it is very close to a major scale. Again, just different in one regard. You may remember earlier we established C major is all natural notes. So we go. But here we have that F sharp on the fourth note above the root. So the whole thing settles a little bit differently on the ear. It's got a little bit more, what should we say, instability from that sharpened fourth note. And the song I've chosen to demonstrate this is Man on the Moon by REM, and as I'm sure you already know, it goes a little something like this. I've recreated these songs on my looper, incidentally, in a bit of a craven effort to avoid any copyright strikes. We'll see how that pans out. But anyway, what we're hearing there is a move from a C chord that's then being slid up 2 frets to a D major chord, effectively, and then back. And again, it's that second chord that's really bringing out the modal characteristics here, because that F sharp note is part of the D major chord. So a very strong Lydian tonality from that song. I probably should just anticipate one objection that might come up. It is possible someone out there is going to say, well, hang on a minute, the chorus of that song is in G major, very clearly, and we've already established G major as the parent key of C Lydian, so surely that implies that the verse is not in C Lydian, it's just the use of the subdominant and the dominant within the key of G major. Well, listen, first of all, you're being very pedantic again. Frankly, this is why people roll their eyes when you talk. And also, I would argue it does demonstrate the sound of the Lydian mode, because we're on that groove between C and D major for well over a minute into the song, or just over a minute anyway, and the C is clearly being treated as the root. The melody is clearly returning to C as a home base. So I think, even though we are clearly moving to G in the chorus, still a good example of the Lydian mode in action. So there. Right, last one for today. And lastly for today, we're going to be talking about the Mixolydian modal scale. This is the 5th mode of the major scale, and our example is going to be based around the B Mixolydian modal scale, which is the 5th mode of E major. So our notes in E major would be E, F sharp, G sharp, A, B, C sharp, D sharp, E. And for B Mixolydian, you're probably getting the idea now, it's the exact same notes, but we're going to begin and end on the B note, which is going to sound like this. So it's another fundamentally major sounding mode, but different from the major scale in one important respect. If we were playing a regular B major scale, we would have an A sharp for our 7th note before coming back to B. The Mixolydian mode doesn't have quite such a strong resolve at the end, because it has an A natural instead. So it's a sound a little bit more akin to a dominant chord rather than a major chord. And the example I've got lined up is the Hindu Times by Oasis, which goes a little bit like this. So, a couple of really crucial Mixolydian ingredients there. First of all, the chord progression of the groove. Again, it's moving between just 2 chords that really spell out the sound of the mode. We have a B chord. I know it might look like an A, but notice it's played with a capo, so it's moved up 2 frets, so it's a B chord. And then an A chord, which again I know here looks like a G, but remember capo, so it's B and A. So it's really emphasising that distance between the B and the A note at the end. So we've got a resolve, but not a sugary, happy kind of nursery rhyme resolve that might occur with the major scale. And then the riff over the top, again, really emphasise those qualities. It's definitely a B major sound because the riff is really emphasising that major third, the D sharp note. But then it's really emphasising the minor seventh, that A natural note over the A chord. And there, very conveniently illustrated, is the sound of the Mixolydian mode. A major third, but a minor seventh. And there we go, a few hopefully slightly less obvious examples of modal scales in action. Really hope there was some stuff of interest and use to you there. If so, please consider liking and subscribing, and I will see you with something else next week. Thanks a lot, cheers.